In this video, I'm going to be explaining the booby trap event of the crude crisis. And for those of you who don't know, it works the exact same way as a game called Minesweeper. So in this video, I'll be explaining how Minesweeper works, and you can use the same logic in the booby trap event. So let's get right into it. First, I'd like to thank all of my patrons for the support. You can find my Patreon link in the description. So the way Minesweeper works is as follows. You get all of these squares, and if you click on a square, the first square you click on usually isn't a mine. However, in the booby trap event, you could get a mine on the first square, which is very unfortunate. Sometimes you might even get unlucky and get 3 mines in a row, but in the actual Minesweeper, you don't get any mines on the first click, which is really good. Once you do your first click, you'll see a lot of numbers that show up. You might either get one number in the booby trap event, but normally you get a lot of numbers like this. These numbers indicate the number of mines that are around each square. So for example, this square that has the 2 in the middle, this indicates that in these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in these 8 squares, there are 2 mines. And so your goal is to find all of the mines and flag them like this. Now, one easy way of finding the mines is by starting with the ones. You try to find the ones that are in the corners, like this one right here. And since we know that all of these 7 squares are not mines, this last square has to be a mine because that's the only square that isn't explored. And since there's a 1 here, it means that there has to be 1 mine around this square, so this one has to be a mine. And now since I know that this one is a mine, I can say that this one's not a mine and this one's not a mine because again you have 1 here, and so around this there can only be 1 mine. So since this is the mine, this cannot be the mine, and the same logic applies to this. There's 1 here, so these 2 cannot be mines. Now we use the same logic for this square. There's a 1 here, and this is the only square that's unexplored, so this has to be the mine. Now you can use the same logic with 2s the way you did with 1s. So here in this box right here, you can see this 2, and around this 2 there are only 2 squares. I know one of them is a mine, and the second unexplored square also has to be a mine because there are 2 mines around this number 2. Now since I know that there are 2 mines here and there's a number 2 here, so that means this cannot be a mine because there are already 2 mines around this 2. Okay, now you can also use some higher level logic, like for example, here you can see there are 2 2s and there's a 1. Now next to this 2 there is a mine here, so that means that in one of these 3 squares there has to be 1 mine, exactly 1 mine. However, I also have a 1 here, which indicates that in one of these 2 squares there has to be 1 mine. And now if there's a mine in one of these 2 squares, then that'll satisfy this 2 here in the middle, and so that would mean that this square cannot be a mine, because if this square is a mine, then I would have to also have a mine here, but if I have another mine here, then this would become a 3. So this square cannot be a mine, and I can open this square like this. And now I know that this is a mine, and now I get more information to work with. Now here I can use this same logic that I used before. There are only 2 squares around this 2, so this one has to be a mine. Then now I know that there are 3 mines here, so this one cannot be a mine. I also know that there's 1 mine here, so this one cannot be a mine. I can also use the same logic here. If you look at this square, there are only 2 squares that are unexplored next to this, so these 2 have to be mines, which would mean that this is not a mine because again there's a 2 here and we already know that these 2 are mines, so this cannot be a mine. So this one has to be a mine because again there's a 2 here in the middle, there's 1 mine here, so the second mine has to be here. And now this mine satisfies this 1, so this cannot be a mine. This 2 gets satisfied by these 2 mines, so all of these are not mines. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This 1 is satisfied by this mine, so this cannot be a mine. This 2 is satisfied by these 2 mines, so this cannot be a mine. And there's 3 here, and there are only 3 unexplored boxes, so this has to be a mine. Now sometimes you could end up in these kind of situations where the only option is to make a guess. Now in this case there are 2 possibilities. There could either be a mine here, which would satisfy the 2s and the 1s, or there could be a mine here and a mine here, which would again satisfy both the 2s and the 1s. There's no way to tell which one exactly is the mine. So in this case, the only way to do it is to make a guess. And I'm going to guess that this is a mine. And I'm going to explore these boxes and see if that's correct. And that was correct. And this is how you win the game. So that's how you do the booby trap event. You can use the exact same logic. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.